Well, hello, welcome back everybody. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here. Today I'm back with episode number 2 of my 7-part series comparing the Wowtac Model W1 here to the Olight Model S1. In this video today, I want to take a deeper look at these lights and I want to talk about the specs of them. So getting started, looking at the Olight right here, Model S1, I'll start by removing the tail cap here. If you look at the spring here, you can see that the tail cap is a very nice build. Very high quality. Let's not forget that Model S1 does not come with the battery. So looking inside the battery tube, you can see there's a very nice spring down there. And take note of the thickness of the battery tube itself. The aluminum is pretty thick. Let's not forget that there is a very nice battery orientation indicator right there telling us how the battery is to go into the light. So we will insert a battery here, putting the negative towards the head of the light and the positive towards the tail cap. I'll put the pocket clip back into position. Now let's go ahead and install the tail cap. Now if you notice right now there is the O-ring, which is what gives this light the IPX8 waterproof rating. When I thread on this tail cap, it goes over that O-ring and it smashes that O-ring, creating a watertight seal on this light, which is very nice. You can see that the light has a flat bottom on it. That's so that the light can tail stand, and the Wowtac will do the same thing. It has the same thing. It has a nice flat bottom. If you look around the switch area, you will see the blue switch bezel. And then looking at the head of the light, you can see the LED there. And the lens is a TIR optic lens. This is a plastic lens, but I've never had any problems with it. Now to charge the battery in this light, it's very simple. I just put the battery in a battery charger. Very simple, very easy to do. Now making sure that the tail cap is tight and that the battery tube is tight to the head of the light, we can now turn the light on. The first function that I want to talk about is Moonlight Mode, which is a long press of the switch here. You'll see that it'll turn on to the lowest setting possible. Again, Moonlight Mode. This is half of a lumen. And depending on which battery you're using in this light, if you're using a rechargeable, you're going to get less runtime than you would using a regular lithium-ion non-rechargeable battery. So for example, when I talk about Moonlight Mode and I talk about the run times, if you're using a rechargeable battery, it'll last for 15 days on this setting. And if you're using a non-rechargeable battery, it'll last for 25 days. Now if I push and hold the side switch here, it'll bump up to the next mode. This is low. Low is 8 lumens. Low will last for 25 hours on a rechargeable battery. And if I put a non-rechargeable battery in here, low is going to last 40 hours. Now bumping it up to the next setting, medium. Medium is 80 lumens. It's a really good setting. Rechargeable battery, it'll last for 4 hours. And a non-rechargeable battery, it'll last 6 hours. So that's a pretty good setting. That's a pretty good amount of light there. Now, if I bump it up to high, right there, we are dealing with 500 lumens for 1.5 minutes. And then to prevent overheating of the light, it will step down to 300 lumens. From there, it'll stay at 300 lumens. Using a rechargeable battery, it'll last 60 minutes, so 1 hour. And then if we're using a non-rechargeable lithium-ion battery, it'll last 90 minutes, an hour and a half. This light per se does not really have a turbo. It's just Firefly, low, medium, and high. It does have a strobe. If I triple press 1, 2, 3, you can see there's a strobe there. And the strobe lasts for 2 hours at 10 hertz. That's on a rechargeable battery. If you're using a non-rechargeable battery, that strobe is going to last 3 hours of runtime. And it's a very bright strobe. It's the full 500 lumens. Now, this light also has a automatic timed shutoff feature. So if the light's on, let's go to a lower setting here. Let's say we're on that setting. If we want the light to turn off in 3 minutes or in 9 minutes, we can set it to do that. So to do that, I'll double press. Well, what I'll do is I'll press and then I'll press and hold. So let's go 1, press and hold. You see 1 flicker there? That's the 3-minute automatic shutoff. Let's do it again. I'm going to press and hold. So you see the 2 flashes, 9 minutes. If I repeat it, push and hold, you see it's 1 flash. So it switches between 3 minutes and 9 minutes to automatically shut itself off. That's a pretty cool thing that this light does. It has the automatic shutoff function. Now, if you want to talk about SOS, this light does not have any kind of SOS function to it. However, it does have that strobe that I talked about a minute ago. This light is IPX8 waterproof, and it's no joke. This thing can go snorkeling. You can have it underwater for short periods of time. It's not going to have any problems. As long as that O-ring is good and everything is tight, you are good to go underwater. I swim with these Olights all the time, and I've never had any issues. Now, the distance of throw that this light offers on the highest setting, which would be that right there, is 110 meters of throw. Okay, that's pretty good for such a small light. 110 meters of throw. They also have a candela rating on this light of 3,000 candela. The operating voltage of this light is anything between 2.5 volts all the way up to 4.2 volts. And what that means is this light will operate on a wide variety of batteries, lithium-ion rechargeable batteries. I'll talk about that a little more later in this video. The weight of this light is 1.57 ounces with the battery included, just as it sits right here. Now, the dimensions of the light, it is 61 millimeters long and 21 millimeters in diameter at the head. So it's a small light. The material that they use for this light is an aluminum. It's a hard anodized type 3 aluminum. It's a 6061 T6 aluminum. The LED itself is a Cree XM-L2. This light is impact resistant down to 1.5 meter. And like I said a minute ago, it has a TIR optic lens, and that will give the light a good balanced beam. The light does have a memory function, so whatever mode you're on, if I turn the light off and turn it back on, it'll come back to that mode, with the exception of Firefly or Strobe. So it'll remember low, medium, or high. This light does not have a UI lockout mode. It doesn't have a function that locks the light out. So if we're going to throw this in a pack and the button gets pressed, there's a chance that that light could come on. If you don't want that to happen, simply grab the tail cap and give it about a half of a turn. Now the light won't come on. So it's a manual lockout mode only. So let's talk about the Wowtac W1. It also has a flat bottom. It's also a magnetic bottom. You can see that the pocket clip is a little bit different. It has a dual direction pocket clip, and if you compare that to the Olight has just a single direction pocket clips. So if you were to carry the Olight in your pockets, for example, it's going to be lens up. It can also go on the bill of your hat this way or this way if you wanted to use it as a headlamp. Now, coming back to the W1, it's going to have a deep carry option just like this with the magnetic side up. And then you can also put your hat, your bill of your hat right here, have it like a headlamp like that or like this. You could even put it in your pocket with the lens up, but you'll have a little bit of the light sticking out of your pants. This light also will run on both batteries. It'll run on the rechargeable RCR 123s or the non-rechargeable CR 123 batteries. We'll talk about the UI of this light real quick. So if I want to start, I'll start with the lowest setting, and what I'll do is I'll press and hold this side switch. You'll see that the light will come on, and it'll come on to the lowest setting possible. This is equivalent to a Moonlight Mode. This is half of a lumen, and on this setting it'll last 29 days. That's a pretty good amount of light. Now the bad part is you can't go from here straight to low. If you push and hold like you do on the Olight, you're actually going to enter a lockout mode in the UI, which is very nice. So to unlock it, you're going to just press and hold again until you see Moonlight Mode. Now to get to low, you actually have to turn the light off and turn it back on. You'll see a blue power level indicator telling you that your battery's good. It'll also change to red when your battery's getting low. So we're looking at low here. This is 12 lumens, and on this setting it'll last for 25 hours. If we push and hold, it'll go up to medium. This is 60 lumens. That's a good amount of light. And on this setting, 60 lumens will last for 5 hours. If we continue to push and hold, we'll go up to, there's low, there's medium, there's high, 197 lumens lasting 95 minutes. So just over an hour and a half. Now, if I want to access turbo, I'll double press from any mode, 1, 2, quickly. You'll see 562 lumens. This will only last 1 minute though. It's not going to be a minute and a half like the S1. This is 1 minute, and then it drops down to prevent overheating down to 215 lumens. So after step down, this is a 215 lumen light. From there, it'll last 75 minutes. Now let's not forget that the S1 after step down was a 300 lumen light for 90 minutes. So there's quite a difference there. Now this light does have a strobe if I triple press, so let me do that. You'll see the strobe is going to come on. The strobe is only 150 lumens. They do this so that they can extend the runtime on the strobe. It'll last 3.5 hours, so that's pretty cool. Single press turns the light off, and then a single press again will turn the light back on to the highest mode that was not turbo. So push and hold, you'll cycle through the modes, low, medium, and high. This light, it does not have an SOS. It does not have a timed shutoff. This light is IPX8 waterproof down to 1.5 meter. However, that depends on this rubber flap being in place. If this rubber flap is not in place, like you see here, and you fall in the water, you might not be IPX8. That might compromise your waterproofness of the light. The throw on this light on the brightest setting, so if we go to turbo, 562 lumens, the throw is going to be 126 meters. So that's pretty good. The candela rating on this light is 4,000, and the operating voltage, very similar to the Olight, is 2.7 volt up to 4.2 volt. Now the operating voltage of the S1 actually started at 2.5 and went up to 4.2. This one starts at 2.7 and goes up to 4.2. Now the weight of this guy with the battery included, just as you see it right here, was 2.02 ounces on my scale. So half an ounce heavier than the S1. Now the dimensions are 68 millimeters in length by 24.5 at the head. A little bit longer than the S1, by what appears to be almost 1/4 of an inch, and you can see the head diameter is a little bit bigger. Okay, now the material, they don't specify what type of material this is made out of. All they say is that it's an aluminum alloy. The LED that's running in here is an XP-G2 LED. This light is also impact resistant to the same rating as the Olight, which is 1.5 meters. If you look at the lens here, you can see that there's a very nice orange pill reflector inside, and it's a glass lens. So that's very nice. Gives you a good beam. Now this light does have a memory mode just like the S1 did, but it will not remember Firefly, Turbo, or Strobe. So it'll remember low, medium, and high. Now when you plug in your micro USB charging port here to charge the light, which is very convenient, you will get this indicator will change colors. It'll show a red indication when it's charging, and then when charging is complete, this indicator will illuminate blue. If you see any kind of purple, you got to make sure that the tail cap or the battery tube is tight into the head of the flashlight. You can also use Firefly while charging on this light. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now it does have a lockout mode in the UI, and I talked about that earlier. And what we'll do is we'll long press, we'll get to Moonlight Mode, we'll let off the button, and then we'll long press again till Moonlight Mode goes away. Then we'll let off the switch. Now you can see the red indicator is telling us that the light is locked out. So that's pretty cool. So when you put it in your bag, you don't have to worry about the light coming on. To come back to normal operation, we'll push and hold till we see Moonlight Mode, and then we can operate the light as normal. Turn the light off. Another way that you can access a manual lockout is just like the Olight. We'll turn the battery tube about 1/2 of a turn, push the button. You can see there nothing's happening. So there's actually 2 lockout modes in this light. A physical lockout mode, and then there's also the lockout in the UI. So it's a very nice light. So here we can see a wide range of batteries that will operate. And the good thing here is both of these lights will operate with all these batteries. Starting on the left here, we have the non-rechargeable lithium-ion 123 battery. This happens to be a Streamlight one. Here's an Olight battery, a Panasonic one. There's the Energizer 123. Here's the Lumatech 123, Surefire 123. Amazon Basics CR123, and then on the right here, these 3 batteries here are the rechargeable RCR 123s. All these non-rechargeables, generally speaking, operate at 3 volts. So these 3 right here are RCR 123s. They're rechargeables. You've got the Olight here, the EBL, and the Skywolf I. They all operate at 3.7 volts. The difference here mainly is the non-rechargeables have a higher amp hour rating, so you tend to get better run times with these batteries, and then you toss them when you're done. These ones here, you can charge them over and over and over. However, the run times will be less than what you see here on these non-rechargeables. But again, the good thing about that, both of these lights, is they'll operate on all these batteries across the board. The last thing that I want to talk about before I go is the magnetic tail cap on these guys. You can see that both lights have very strong magnets. You can use them to put them under the hood of a vehicle if you're working on the vehicle, things of that nature. And if you pull them away from the metal, you can see that both of them have strong magnets. So the magnet strength on both of these lights, I would say they're on par with each other. The magnets are about the same. Now again, if you look at the height of the lights, you can see that the W1 on the left is slightly longer and has a bigger diametered head than the Olight. So with all that being said, folks, this concludes episode number 2 of my 7 video series comparing the Wowtac W1 versus the Olight Model S1. Stay tuned for the next episode. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to give you some good night shots.